Oh yeah, it is another new comic book day that we are getting ready for, brother. It is July 10th. We're talking new comic books. July 11th. Oh yeah, brothers, I am happy to have you here. My name is Hoosier, and I got my other comic book brother.
Oh yeah, I'm all pumped up and ready to go, brother.
Do you? That's the wrong one. That was going to go into the Rock. You smell what I'm cooking? Because it is new comic book day.
Yeah, you gotta almost sound like you're constipated to be Randy Macho Man Savage. Ooh, they gotta have something popping out of your skull here. You know, a nice strong vein.
Gotta have the cowboy glass, the cowboy hat, and the glasses.
And you gotta do this. Oh yeah,
yeah, brother. All right, brother. Well, welcome to New Comic Book Day. It's WhoDooTV. I'm Hoosier. That's Chris. July 10th. We're talking new comics books for July 11th. Appreciate everybody who's jumping on today. If you are new to this show, we do this every Tuesday at 6:30. So make sure you subscribe so you can get the alerts for that. Hit the bells. Thanks everybody for who is going to be jumping on. But yeah, we do a live chat. So there'll be a live chat going on. So if you got questions, you got anything, put it up there. Reading recommendations, we want to know. But man, what's up? What's been happening with you?
Well, just been busy, been moving and moving. I mean, goodness gracious. But if it's one thing, you know, we went to Ace, and then right after that, I had the little Toy and Geek Festival downtown Puyallup, which was pretty darn nice for a little venue that it was. I mean, that was a solid day's worth of activities. You could fit 4 or 5 hours in there, well worth the, you know, a one-day pass. Had some really cool things that I think people would have had a good time. And talk about small lines, you had some decent people. I wish I had more money because, man, just about the entire cast of Z Nation was there, and I love Z Nation. It's one of those guilty sins, I guess you could say. It's one of those that it's just hokey as all could be because it's on the Sci-Fi Network. But I love watching it. It's guilty pleasure, absolutely. But yeah, I went there and had a pretty darn good time. I'm starting to see a few more Valiant pieces popping up. I saw a couple of Solar number 10's first print, although they wanted way too much and the books were damaged. It was still cool to see them out.
Right, that's nice, man. See them out in the wild.
Yes.
Anything you read last week that you enjoyed, or
that kind of leads me right in. This right here, The Watchmen, the old school version. That was my entry fee. I bought my brother-in-law a ticket. He bought me this. Since I hadn't read it, I figured, why the heck not? Let's give it a shot. Interesting. I got to tell you, straight from the 80s, very interesting, very homophobic, very Reaganomics, very anti-liberal. And I mean, get it. I think they even used a line of killing all the liberals and the commies. And I was really kind of floored because, I mean, I guess going back to the 80s, yeah, I guess that was more the theme. So I guess it was a little bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
The art's not my cup of tea, but the story is interesting enough to keep me reading. So,
all right. Anything in the last decade that you've read?
Well, I finally got around to reading Magic Order. I had it sitting there. I just hadn't had a chance to read it a couple of weeks ago when I picked it up. But yeah, I read that. It was fantastic. I haven't picked up my pull list from last week, with it being the 4th of July and my LCS being down in Lacey and me living in Puyallup is just too far to drive to pick up a couple of comic books on a day off.
Yeah, it can be pretty diff. Well, what I had last week, 2 new books that I enjoyed a lot, both Image titles.
Mm-hmm.
Death or Glory number 3, awesome. This one is Rick Miranda and Bengal. Loved it. Continues that story of Glory Owen. And then I've also another one. I mean, I really enjoyed The Last Siege. I don't think the sales were too hot on The Last Siege number 1 because now they actually moved it into being a limited series. It's going to be an 8-part. When we went to the Image Expo, they had said that was going to be an ongoing. So Sales can kind of change that really quick if you don't have enough pre-order on it. But maybe it'll pick back up. Maybe it'll be one of those that gets in there later. I hope to see these guys get the ability to tell their story they want to tell. That's the big my big pullouts. One of the things that I do want to talk about is within comics, the biggest news in comics this last week has been the passing of Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko is the man with Stan Lee, just as important as Stan Lee for making amazing fantasy, right? For Spider-Man, introducing Spider-Man. The story behind that is very interesting because Stan Lee's normal artist was initially set to do Spider-Man, but he made him big and bulky like Kirby does. Kirby was putting him in as these big, bulky guys. Wasn't quite what Stan was looking for, and Steve Ditko came in and decided to make him a scrawny teenager. And
I mean, if you think about that, you think of Spider-Man as being the scrawnier, smaller individual who's quick of foot, light on his feet, very quick, nimble, sarcastic even. Maybe that's more of a current thing, but you couldn't have that if you had a big, bulky guy. You just couldn't have it.
Right. Well, and one of the things that made this so iconic is that at that time, everything was big and bulky. Everything was larger than life, bigger than bulky. And Spider-Man did something to a lot that allowed teenagers who were reading it to really see themselves as the character. It wasn't so much as, I'm that guy, because nobody's big and bulky and, wearing as Superman or big and bulky like Batman. It was, I can see myself because it's a fully covered mask. Anybody can be him. And he was able to make a fully covered guy like that emote so well with his eyes. That was one of the things Ditko did so well. And then he was just on top of it all with Doctor Strange. And you could just go through many, many books that he had his finger on, including some Valiant titles.
Yes.
Very much so. So definitely a very sad thing. This is a guy who didn't really see the public eye too much. He was kind of in the background a lot, but very much a staple artist within the comic book history. And how cool is it to make a comic, make a character such as Spider-Man that is going to way outlive you and impact others' lives for years and years? That's, to me, very, very, very sad. But thank you for the work, buddy.
Well, if you think about it, and anybody passing is a sad thing, but when you think about his life and the contributions that he made to the geek society, really, and really though, how long of a life he lived. How old did he end up being? He was in his close to his
couple years younger than Stan, because Stan's 93 and he's 90. So.
Yeah, so if he's 90. 89, 90, 91, somewhere in that vicinity, really, that's a life. And I guess from personal experience, I can't say that it's sad. I can celebrate his life, absolutely. I can be thankful for his life, but I can't be sad. Sure, family's going to miss him, and I get that. But to me, it's more of a celebration of what he contributed, and he lived a long life, and he, I think, single-handedly put comic books out there for artists, I should say, and allowed something else besides that big bulky guy. You could really spin off and be so many different things. You could have Daredevil, who was a skinny blind dude. You could have all these other comic books, and I think it really came from the imagination of Ditko and what he then, what other people who might have read that said, oh, well, if he doesn't have to be big and bulky, he can be, whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just what a huge life. And like I say, to outlive himself and leave a legacy, I think that's one of the coolest things. And it's really cool to have that aspect too, is to know that and that's one thing that I always kind of struggle with when I worry about death, is what's going to outlive me of mine, And so I think it's kind of cool to see that with some people that have done that. It's a huge piece, man. All for it. So sadly, but goodly, good, long, prosperous life. Good for him. Yeah. But we're going to keep going with some news. We can't all be sad.
No, there's a lot of stuff that dropped today and earlier this week. Lots of good stuff. This being one of them right here. I mean, we get it's an action figure. It's not a statue because he's moldable and you can do different things with them. And looks similar enough to JDF. I mean, this is taken straight from Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe, and they do look nice. And I say they because...
And here's what he's talking about, folks. It is the Bloodshot statue. So this is what he's talking about. Bloodshot action figure just came out, and it's a Ninjak Versus series. So I didn't get the image pulled up, but there is they showed a picture of Ninjak, which is basically, it looks just like Rowe, right? Michael Rowe as well.
Yes,
Ninjak Versus aspect to these. Really cool. Pre-order now. $160 though, man.
Yeah, when you look back in the old statue of Bloodshot, it started in the old statue of Rye. They both started off in that 150, 140 range. So I see 160 as being right about where statues should be. And I think, I mean, maybe not right off the bat, they won't be big sellers, but I think they could be fantastic items, fantastic little things. That's a chunk of money, but I definitely would like to have one, at least one.
It's not a statue, it's an action figure. I mean, it's internal joints, which are really cool, which probably raises the cost, but ultimately really cool. Of course, I want one, but that price makes it the questionable piece. But there's also been some recent more Bloodshot movie news.
Yeah, big stuff. Bloodshot starting to film August 6th.
Yep.
And the big announcement from that is I didn't write it down, but the biggest thing is it's just in time. They start filming it right before my birthday. Just perfect. Thank you, Dinesh. You're the man.
That's why he did it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I know he's in South Africa, but I figure with time, it's about right. So yeah, but the big news is they're kicking it off. It's really going to happen now. That's awesome.
Yeah, they say they're going to start doing images. They're going to start taking a lot of pictures here in the next couple weeks, so they could hopefully start getting some more media out. Vin Diesel did some steroids, got a little bigger. He's going to be ready for this role. The cast is there. So I think that was pretty cool. There was also some really cool other movie news that came out recently. I believe it was yesterday it came out that Jamie Foxx has got a co-star and playing the role of Twitch, which is the detective on Spawn, is going to be Jeremy Renner. So a Marvel Avengers vet is joining this to get a pretty all-star cast for this upcoming Spawn movie. Dude, that's an awesome fit. I'm pretty excited for that. That is going to be a pretty great showing.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. And depending who they pair Renner with, you could almost see the two cops there spinning off into their own little one-shot type of a movie. I know they're beloved in the Spawn ethos, I guess you could say. They've had a number of their own little adventures. But yeah, really, really cool. Really excited about that.
I vaguely remember hearing Todd say that he's thinking about making them into a series.
Oh, yes, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, a non-superhero, just bare bones, those two guys, superhero or whatever it is, their own show. So I think that'd be great.
Be great. Very cool.
It's cool to see so much around comics coming out right now. I enjoy it. I think, comics is a great medium to get places started, get ideas started, allow fan bases to build up. Because so many other things, I know you hear it like, oh, everything's a comic book movie, or it was a book. What's the big TV show everybody likes right now on HBO? Game of Thrones. I mean, come on. That's how a lot of things start. And Hunger Games, you name it. The Lord of the Rings, so much of it. So a lot of stuff is being pre-done. There is hardly ever the original movie plot outside of Jurassic World or something now. It's all been, fairly new. are fairly.
It sells so well because you have so many people that enjoy the books or the comics or the whatever, and it captures the imagination of all the people that are just getting into it, just picking it up. So yeah, I mean, yeah, outstanding.
They need to keep it out and keep coming with it. So I like it. So one thing that I'm excited for that was announced yesterday is another Daniel Warren Johnson book, Murder Falcon. Daniel Warren Johnson did Extremity. He did what's the other one with I think it was Ghost Fleet with Donny Cates. That was a freaking phenomenal book. But this one just looks pretty rad, pretty gnarly with the dude rocking out.
It just looks fun.
Yeah, I love Daniel Warren Johnson's work. I loved Extremity. If you guys didn't read Extremity, that was awesome. Pretty good all the way. So another Image title coming out.
Yeah.
You get in on the ground floor of this? Because I know I did, and Matt Kent's Kickstarter already funded within a couple hours. I'd have to say I was like number 69 or something like that. I was, early. Yeah, he did it, and it was one of those ones where you should have gotten into it and get into it now. Pretty awesome 24-page comic book that he's going to have a vinyl audio to go with it. And so you could do like a read along, just like the old school days. And I think it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, if I'm going to be able to do anything like that, I have to sell a couple of books. And you know me, that's a tough thing to do. Me selling anything is tough.
Dude, I think the cheapest vinyl is $25.
Yeah, no, I know it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday payday for me is right around, well, I guess it's a week from now.
But you don't pay until it finishes, till the end of it. They don't wait until August.
What's that now? I didn't hear you.
It wouldn't be charged you till August.
Oh, then I'll go get the biggest one. I'll be good. No.
Yeah, charges you in August. So pretty awesome. He's got a couple different packages. You can just pledge $25 and get the PDF and the just get the audio file. So you don't have to necessarily have the vinyl. Or so if you're a digital person, you go all digital. $5 more advanced training model. So I think actually one of them sold out already. That's pretty gnarly. So, yeah. So he's got some cool stuff. You get, what is this, $1,500 one. So you can go for that one.
Why not? No.
But yeah, some pretty cool packages there. So I dig it. So check that out. You're gonna want to get in on that. So pretty sweet. Man. And then there was comic books.
But before that, two pieces. One's comic book related. I'll save that for last. But the second one is Billy D. Williams coming back as Lando for the next Star Wars flick.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I know there's already the chant, please don't kill him off.
Right.
He's getting up there in days, but I think coming from the Billy D. Williams camp, it was one of those things where they've killed off Han, they've killed off Luke. You need, I guess to appease the 4, 5, and 6 people, the original Star Wars fans, because they're the ones that are hating on a lot of this newer stuff. You kind of got to tie in some of the older characters. And so I think that's what Disney saw, and they wanted to bring them back. I'm happy that Billy D. Williams decided to get and do it. So, yeah. So that's the one thing. But the big one I'm excited for is Wait.
We'll get there.
All right.
We'll get there. That'll get there. But I think they heard you say it. But yes, we're going to get there. We're going to get to that point. Let's get into books that we're reading this week, because that's kind of where we're going to be going. Let's do that here in just a second. What's your first book that you got, man?
Well, the first one that I've got is The Wicked Righteous, #6. Ends the series. It's already been talked about on Twitter that Alternative seriously thinking about coming out and putting out another, maybe another arc, if you will, if this be the first arc But Wicked Ride just has been a great, great ride. The America is basically split in half. One half owned by China, the other half owned by I don't know. But it revolves around a disease that's killed off all the adults over the age of 18. The only adults left living are those that have ever taken a life. And it revolves around this uncle and these brothers. And it's about them bonding in a time of crisis. And you could totally get that in an Armageddon type of world coming to an end type of thing. They're forced to do things that you would not normally want younger 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old type of kids to do. They got to step up and protect themselves. So it's a fantastic story ending tomorrow. I'm looking forward to getting that last piece of the puzzle.
Nice, nice. So Alternative's putting out good books like they always do. That's awesome, man. Good call out there. I like calling out every once in a while. I like calling out some #1 issues, and this one is by Aftershock. This is a book called Relay. I know you were kind of talking about it because of one of the creators is good old Donny Cates. Donny Cates has been in there to help with the story, conceived by the writer Zach Thompson, who's also done Cable, The Dregs. So yeah, so all around pretty good. Andy Clark, Batman penciler, is in there. So pretty good all around book. If you haven't been reading Aftershock books, they are pretty phenomenal. They have some great stories all the way around. So I would say pick up some Aftershock books if you haven't done so already. They're pretty good.
The cool thing on that book there is the first print's already sold out. So
nice.
You get in, you can pull something off the shelf. I highly suggest you do it. This book's going to be pretty big, I think, especially for Aftershock. They put out good books, but I think when you tie in those two names that you mentioned, you're getting a lot of attention going Aftershock's way. Yes, this is a book I am super stoked for. I saw #4.
What he's talking about right here. Take a look at it there.
Oh, man. Loving this book. The art is fantastic. The story is really, really strong. I won't even spoil it for you. I want you guys to read it, pick it up. Kind of a fantasy-based, but you really get kind of almost an Armageddon-style feel. Great story. Yeah, check it out.
Right? I mean, you said there's a tiger in it, and it's cool.
Yeah, there's a tiger in it.
There's a tiger. So if you like tigers, jump in on the tiger story that Chris is talking about here. I want to call out one that's another Image title that we did a review on not too long ago, and that is actually one of the most recent reviews we did. Farmhand #1 comes out this week. A great, weird, cool sci-fi story about Farmer Jenkins, who decided to figure out a way to harvest human organs and limbs and extremities, and what lies underneath. It seems like a horror weird tale. This is the same artist who did Chew with John Layman. That has been a widely popular book. But yeah, Farmhand is one of those books that's just phenomenal that is been out there. So
yeah, that's a really good story too. It's kind of not what you're expecting, but yeah, it's a great read. Great read.
Nice. I want to get into 2 Boom titles, just to kind of call them out. One of them that's been getting a lot of press really is Coda. This is a Simon Spurrier book, Cy Spurrier. Many people know him. And this cool, weird telling of fantasy. I've heard it being compared to like 7 to Eternity, but with like just more of a like fantasy realm, different art style that people have enjoyed. Bright, bright colors everywhere is just very, very bright colors. Yeah, inside Spurrier doing something, it is worth it. And then one that I've actually really enjoyed recently is going to be RoboCop, Citizen's Arrest. This is #4. Anytime you get a RoboCop's awesome, but also when you get Brian Wood writing it, it is phenomenal. I'm a fan of the old 80s shoot 'em up crazy movies, and RoboCop was right there with him in those days, man.
Yeah, yeah, definitely things are leaning back towards those 80 shoot 'em up, big explosion type of not only books, but even movies leaning that way. So, yeah, sounds interesting.
I dig it. And then there is a small title that's coming out this week. I don't know. It's by an unknown writer named Brian Michael Bendez and Joe Pardo on the art. And that's Superman #1. Just a little character with a freaking awesome David Mack cover again. Look at that right dead center. God, he's great.
What's wrong with the David Mack cover, really? I mean, I haven't. Yeah, you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I dig his art. It's really art. Sometimes it makes me question comic books that use other artists on the cover, and then you open it up and it's totally, bait and switch. It seems like, but not necessarily with that, because you can see that that's a cover. And I dig that. So Superman #1, Brian Michael Bendis is starting a brand new run on Superman. Like that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then I got a couple Marvel call outs that are there too to kind of get people started. One of them is X-23. So Mirko Tamaki, I can't know if I say his name right or not, but X-23. So we met her in Logan. If you are not a X-Men reader, she is the young gal from that. A cool character. And it's getting you started on a ground floor with another #1. And I believe I have another #1 here. Another small character in the universe that we've just talked about, his creator, still going strong, and Marvel still doing #1s. Amazing Spider-Man. So Nick Spencer is on it, and Ryan Otley from Invincibles is doing the art. And I feel like Invincible is a perfect, Spider-Man love child creation, just that teenage angst that it started off with. I think he's going to do really good on art with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to myself. I've never been a big reader of the big two, but I think there's always a soft spot for Spider-Man for me. I mean, Batman, if I'm interested, if I'm curious, but something about Spider-Man, you kind of got to read it to see what the little guy's doing. He's kind of like the proverbial underdog, if you will.
And then there's one book that's a little bit, by one creator, Oblivion Song #5. He's still doing it, man. Him and Lorenzo De Lafici coming out with another story and continue rocking it. And all the way awesome. And Chris was mentioning earlier one book that is going to be coming out that was not mentioned and was a surprise in comic book shops this morning when they opened their boxes. And that is going to be, let me pull it up. I'm sorry. It is going to be Die, Die, Die. Really awesome.
Die, Die, Die was something that I was not expecting. And all of a sudden, boom, there's something on Twitter. And I was like, what is this? So I go through and I read a couple of articles before I shot the message off to you. Basically, the way Kirkman describes it on the back of his poster is that when he was young, he loved, the comic book world was completely retained inside of comic book stores. And he loved going in there and listening to people say this, oh, what's new? Well, what is this? Well, what's this comic book? What is this all about? And getting people talking and spurring imaginations. Kind of what he wanted to do with Die, Die, Die. Supposedly it's set in a world where Hillary Clinton's president, not that it's good or that it's bad, it's just she's the president. And there's lots of blood and gore, as you can see there on the cover. It's going to be a shoot 'em up style book. It's going to be interesting. The cool thing is that Kirkman said that the distribution is based off of your LCS's purchases of Oblivion Song #1. That means there's going to be a bunch of them out there. So if you start seeing, on eBay or what have you, that they're really going sky high, don't worry about it. They're going to be out there. Oblivion Song, they sold a ton of those. So
they a second print of Oblivion Song. That is the first print only.
Yeah. So there's still going to be a bunch out there. Oblivion Song was a big seller, but curious. And if you haven't reached out to your LCS and said, hey, hold on to one for me, you probably should early tomorrow morning.
And then I would go right here on this. There's going to be 10 plus covers that are produced on this. So there is the gold one, and it's in your top right corner. All the way around, hilarious. Each one of them saying something different. I like the second from the right that has Hillary down there saying, I'm drunk. It's pretty hilarious. I'm Paul. I'm Nate. I'm drunk. Man. So, yeah, these guys bleed all over the place. How rude of them. Like, you know, Kirkman is really trying to push people to the comic book store. I appreciate that a lot. And he was talking on that, how you didn't know what books were coming before, unlike now when you're months ahead of time because of internet. Because he said there were still previews there, but it's not like the internet and Twitter and the social media phase where everybody's pumping up their books so much. It's, hey, it's on the shelf. Like, what is this? Oh my God. And this gets people in the store, which is great. It's getting people in the store. It makes me excited. I was pleasantly surprised about this. I hope, I don't know where number 2 and number 3 are coming, but they should hopefully right behind it. But Kirkman doing another all the way. And like you said, it's going to be doing that. It's going to be doing the sales of Oblivion Song, which did not have any reprints. They made sure it was a first come first serve type of thing. And
but they produced a ton of them. They really did. They produced an absolute ton of them.
Yeah. You know what books are actually recently keeping on that image and sales and whatnot with books. Gideon Falls is now going for a decent penny for their first printing. So, I mean, roughly right now, $25. And then if you have the cover C, the Jock variant, right now, I think I see it for $20. So it is going to get there. One recently, one just sold for $13. So it's getting there, but it's one of those ones when the show happens, get ready. It's going to happen even more.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, it's going to be
very exciting. Just that little tidbit. That the show's going to happen. It's going to be exciting.
Yep. Then keep it moving forward. We also got a little deluxe edition that's coming out this week. What you think of that?
Well, I know that, I'm friends with you and I are both friends with Rafer, but he had been going on for some time. I can't wait. I just can't wait. I really need this in my collection because he's got the French edition of this.
Right.
And he was very excited to get his hands on the French edition of this deluxe edition. And so when this came out, it's like, I need this book. And so it was kind of funny to follow him. So I'm glad for him this is coming out. I'm glad for us as Valiant fans and Rafer fans that this is coming out. Yeah, looking forward to it. I have all the comic books already, but, you got to have a deluxe edition.
Yeah. Well, and I'm looking at the title, and they're missing Ryan Wynn's name on there because I know he did some of the inks on that book. So, darn it. But, yeah, I get all the deluxes. And I'm still waiting for my order of freaking Divinity to come in, which I might have to cancel that and go find it somewhere else if I could find it right now.
You talking about the CBDLF or whatever?
That sold out.
Yeah, I know.
They sold out, which was cool because I have the signed Kent and the Louis LaRosa page in there. So sadly enough, Divinity has kind of sold. Then there's one book. Sadly enough, after this one, there's only one more of Jeff Lemire on this title. Bloodshot Salvation, number 11.
Yep, this is getting to the point where he's got to fulfill the order set forth by Baron Samedi. And, yeah, we'll get to see who it is that he's going to be taking a hit out or he's supposed to be knocking off and what the repercussions are from that.
Yep. Who knows where it's at? Really hoping that Lemire wraps up the next two issues hard and really closes out his run on Bloodshot with an exclamation point. And we get to see what happens with that. So really looking forward to that. Then I had one book that I wanted to call out, that not normally calling out this publisher, but I really just enjoyed what it looks like, what the synopsis type thing says, and that is a Source Point Press book, and it's called Morty. And it is the story of the last man on Earth, now alone among a landscape of corpses, and how he chooses to spend his time in the new world. A powerful and gripping post-apocalyptic drama that will take a hot knife to your heartstrings.
Oh, man.
And this just looks awesome. I believe it's Kevin Joseph is the writer on this. He did a book prior called Tart. But just ultimately, that looks just like a phenomenal book, in my opinion. I'm all in for that. That's cool. So that's kind of don't normally call that out, but it looks pretty impressive. The cover looks impressive. The story sounds pretty, yeah.
Man, that just sounds like a heartbreaking book. Last Man on Earth, and how he fills his time,
Talks to corpse. I don't know. Like, who knows where it's going to go. But it's a one-shot, so it's a one-stop shop book. Worth the pick up, worth looking to giving a look. So then we got, on the live chat right now, we got Not My Name in here, Danny Millhouse. Danny says this week he's got Flash number 50, Hal Jordan 48, Superman number 1, Old Man Logan 43, X-23-1, Relay number 1, Oblivion Song number 5. Good stuff. And he is right. Not just New Comic Book Day, but it's also World Cup Day. And England and Croatia going in the semifinals. And sorry, Danny, I had Croatia to pick to win it a long time ago. Even though I love on England. I don't know. I'm torn, man. Then we just got Jason Falter on. Jason, thanks for joining us, man. The Amazing Spider-Man number 1, he can't wait. Is it tomorrow yet? So we're hoping it's coming soon.
I'm with Jason on that. He's been talking about that on Twitter. I've been chatting with him a bit. So I knew he was excited about seeing Spider-Man. I know I am too, but kind of more of a, hey, little buddy, glad to see you again. I'm glad you're starting over. I'm glad this is a story I can get into. Kind of, like easing into it. It's going to be fun. It's your little buddy. It's the little kid from across the street that you like to throw the football with,
Yep. So it's old Spider-Man, and who was it? I think it was Todd that said it, and he was saying, if Stan Lee were to have kept writing Spider-Man, how much more do you think he would have evolved versus having somebody else come in and pick it up and do it, and then have somebody else come in and pick it up and do it? And that is one thing I've always liked about Spawn, that he's had his hand in on, this is what you're doing, and Spawn's evolved. He's not the same character he once was.
Right.
In that same manner would be Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon's not even the same Savage Dragon. It's his son now that's Savage Dragon. So Eric Larson's Image book that he has done since Image started. I just love that about a story. And Spider-Man, for instance, Batman, Superman, all those guys, it's somebody, it's weird, multiple people telling it and thinking about how those books that only one person has been on and how like the characters evolve. Makes you wonder, but Spider-Man is, he's like the, what's the saying where you go to it, it's going to be there, it's good. It's
man, it's bread and butter, it's macaroni and cheese, it's meat.
Yeah,
it's comfort food.
It's a reliable source that no matter what, you go there, it's there, and it's consistent, and it's all right. So yeah. And then Jason Falter says he actually wants Jim Drowney to come back as Spawn. Al's story was told, and then he has brought me back, and it's the same time, same old. Yep, same old again. Jim's story was pretty new, and I agree. I'm always, I always want to see stuff evolve. I want to see things change up a little bit. Very much. How many times do you need to have Spider-Man's origin story?
Yeah, very true. In
Amazing Fantasy, they did the Spider-Man origin story within like 4 pages. Come on. You don't need to keep doing it. And how many times have you seen Batman's origin story?
Yeah.
Story. It's enough, man. We got it.
Evolve.
how many people are first getting into comics and have never heard of those two in their origin story? I don't think very many.
I will say, though, with Batman, maybe not so much in Spider-Man, but with Batman, you have seen evolution because you have seen newer renditions of Batman. You have seen the old man Batman. But Spidey, you haven't seen a fat old Spider-Man.
Yeah, you just seen Miles Morales come in there.
Yeah.
Put on the suit. But we'll see. And that's like one thing where, Lemire has been great with his change of Bloodshot.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are asking for the old 80s type of Bloodshot, just go shoot him up, get crazy, get some action. But he's kind of brought that into another element of maturity. And I like that. That's one thing I like is Lemire's voice is about people evolving. And I feel like that's been a lot of his stories that I find kind of his common thread. I talk about how many different genres he actually does, how he's doing horror, eventually a movie, a TV series with Hive Mind, with Gideon Falls, but with Descender. Oh, and that was announced too. Ascender is going to be the change of that. So, but he always writes people in evolving, how they're evolving as a person. I mean, that's really where he's going, is character-driven stories. And they may come out with a story, but I think of Old Man Logan, I think of his Moon Knight run, Royal City, what that's doing, and it's people evolving in their characters and how they change from events. So I dig it. I dig his work. It's always on the love Jeff Lemire every day. Dude's awesome. But go look up Kent's Kickstarter, guys. Check that out. Get
time to get in.
Support a dude. And then one of our friends we've had on the show before, White Ash. I don't know if you guys remember that. We did a live show with those guys. They Charlie Stickney and Connor Hughes, they're doing their #3 series of White Ash. They're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, and they just started #3 on Kickstarter. I believe they already funded too, which is good for them. These guys are some talented guys. Connor is one of the artists that I think people eventually will know more of his work. I think the guy's really good. So go check out those dudes. But yeah, check out on Starter, and then just check out some good books. Go get Die tomorrow, guys. Go to your store, pick it up. Pretty awesome that they're trying to do that. Do you have any final words, Chris?
No. Gabby's celebrating 40 years in the business down there at Olympic Cards and Comics. I love the fact that Olympic Cards and Comics has been around for 40 years, celebrating this Saturday. So that's my LCS down in Lacey, Washington. But anytime you have a comic book store open for 40 years, that's a huge bonus. I want to say she's owned and operated it for 25 of those 40 years. She's worked there as a young 15-year-old from the beginning. So she's been involved with that store from the get. And she had the opportunity to purchase it and has run with it and has done some amazing, amazing things. So I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of that comic shop. I will be going down there. I will be celebrating with them. I think that's all I have. That's just one little cool thing.
All right, brother. So, it is time to say goodbye. My favorite, you better walk that out, boy. Woo! Styling and profiling. Have a good week. Enjoy your reads, guys.